Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the forecast for June 2025 for each life path number to see how these energies could present for you in the month that follows. This, of course, is a general reading. If you would like your own personal numerology forecast or reading, please book some time with me. My information's in the description box below, and I would love to work with you. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at June. Life Path 11-2, you all are going to be working with the vibration of the 26-8 for June. This is a karmic cycle, and so you could see some kind of karmic cycle closing out at this time, whether it's with another person or it's an experience that you've been moving through. It likely would have been like heightened lessons and learning and wisdom extracted from the experience. You could see that be closed out at this time and sort of reaping the rewards from learning those lessons of that cycle. For others of you, you could be starting a new karmic cycle where you meet someone who you have some kind of a greater soul contract with that is meant to teach you something about yourself and your life, right? Through the experiences of connecting with that person. Or you might move to a new town or move to a new location that has experiences in store for you that will help you to learn more about yourself and your experience. The 26-8 is a cycle that gives us the opportunities to learn about the world around us through our experiences. And so, in other words, stressful situations could eventually help to develop our self-confidence. And positive action from those experiences then brings prosperity and fulfillment. And we learn something about ourselves again and our environment through moving through those stressors, even though it's uncomfortable and we're kind of like, no more lessons. We don't want more lessons. But the reality is it's like those quote unquote lessons or experiences help us to learn about ourselves and the world around us. And we wouldn't have the opportunity to do that if we didn't have to move through the challenges, because the challenges sort of require our attention, right? We have to be very present as we're moving through the challenges of life to know what we're working with, to figure out the solution, to figure out what action to take and what decisions to make. And, if things are just flowing along gently and smoothly, and it's all rainbows, sunshines, and unicorns, our attention isn't needed there. We don't have to be as sort of laser focused on the experience in order to overcome the challenge, because there are no challenges there. So when the 26-8 comes through, it can feel like a little bit more of a challenging period. But again, there is a wealth of wisdom to be extracted from that experience and moving through that experience, because we have to be fully present there. I mean, of course, we're human, so, we might have our own sort of techniques for disassociating or avoidance or whatever to try to move through the experience without actually moving through it. But I think we tend to find pretty quickly that we can only do that for so long. And then the experience is still there waiting for us, or the challenge is still there waiting for us to be addressed. So you could definitely find that come up for you at this time, that there's an experience that you are meant to move through at this time that is going to require you to be very present and very connected to yourself and, observe what's happening around you, observe what's happening in the experience to gain the most from it and to find your confidence and your courage in order to face those challenges, whatever they may be. And again, it's through that experience that the power will come to you when you've learned the wisdom and developed the strengths through the experience, if that makes sense. I would say be mindful of your impulsivity at this time, especially when it comes to your connections, when it comes to how you interact with others. That impulsivity could create some tension, some situations that are not very productive or constructive for what you want to achieve. This is a time where you likely will be asked to learn greater self-control, greater patience, greater endurance. So in other words, picking something up committing to it and seeing it through to completion, right? That's going to be a big one during this cycle as well. And finding the patience to do that and not being so hard on yourself when you don't see the instant gratification or when things don't work out very quickly. And recognizing that doesn't have anything to do with like personal failure. It just means sometimes things take longer to cook. Sometimes things take longer to master. Sometimes things take longer to understand. So give yourself the grace to do that, right? To move through the experience, whatever that experience may be for you, in order to gain the wisdom so that you can use that wisdom moving forward. It's kind of like a video game, sort of, right? This is also a time where you might find that you have an opportunity to speak to people, to share your experiences, right? Remember, this is a cycle for moving through significant experiences in order to gain the wisdom. But then there's like a side to this also that says you're meant to share that wisdom. You're meant to share that experience with others. And you will likely find the outlets to be able to do that. So do it. That's kind of what it's pushing you to do in some form that feels good for you. Also, this is a time, because there's such strong relational energy here with the 2 and the 6, that you might find that through your interactions with others, you learn to form really positive and enduring relationships that can really bring you a lot of satisfaction and a lot of joy. And you recognize your place within those connections and your role within those connections. And, the connections where it doesn't feel good, you're able to make the appropriate adjustments or have those conversations or remove yourself from those situations. But then the relationships that do feel good will continue to grow and endure. And so it's interesting because, again, because it's karmic energy and because you have the strong relational energy of the 2 and the 6, during this cycle, you will probably find that your relationships are decidedly karmic and will either fall into 2 camps, one more destructive, the other more supportive, depending on your experiences with those individuals. And so it's going to be up to you to move more away from the destructive ones and lean more into the supportive ones. So very interesting energies to be working with. Also interesting too, you got Orca energy for your animal wisdom message. And, orcas move in pods. They're not solitary creatures. They move in pods and they have very complex communication styles. And they work together in a beautiful balance and harmony. And so there's definitely something here because, again, there's very strong relational energy with this cycle where communication might come up very strongly for this cycle, and learning to communicate with others in a way that works for both and all involved. So it can be that bring that sense of unity in some way. But what's also interesting about Orca that came to mind is their hunting techniques, right? So they're very intentional and very complex in their techniques of how they secure their nutrients, how they sort of hunt, right? And so they're incredibly intelligent creatures. And so there's definitely something here, not necessarily for the hunt for you all, but for recognizing and being very intentional about how you share your gifts, like how you share your wisdom, how you share your unique experiences with others. Because remember, so much of this cycle is about overcoming obstacles and achieving that wisdom. So how you share that wisdom really needs to be intentional and unique for you, that feels good. And take your time in figuring out what that looks like for you. But you'll know what wisdom you're meant to share because you'll feel confident in that wisdom, if that makes sense. So yeah, really beautiful energy here. Just you just have to find your confidence and commit to it and do it, right? Just like the orca. So I hope it's a great one. Take care. Bye for now.